From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark brings us information on foreign food aid from Senate Ag Committee Chair John Boozman. I have a featured agronomy update with Landus Cooperative technical agronomist Dan Bjorklund, and we talk more about this year's new foods at the Iowa State Fair. Now let's welcome in our hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, we are back with another edition of Iowa Ag Matters. A little bit of storm action coming through overnight, Mark. We had a couple branches down in the neighborhood. I don't know how things looked over in your neck of the woods, but yeah, just a little bit more rain shower activity and some wind shear that came through here earlier overnight.
That's what caught me was by surprise was the wind yesterday. All of a sudden, the wind really kicked up, and it was very similar conditions. What you're describing in Ankeny is what we had in Waukee, and yeah, we did get a little bit of rain activity as well. And speaking of the weather, we're, of course, now watching for this next wave of more extreme heat and the heat dome situation, although this time it's going to be located a little bit more to the west of us and to the north, where the Dakotas are really looking like the area that's going to be in that real hot spot. Now, when we talk about temperatures, it's a little bit different than, for example, the rain, because it's obviously covering a bigger area. It's going to affect us as well. So we're still going to be warm, but we're not going to be quite as hot to our neighbors to the north. But then actually looking at some of the longer term forecasts for the end of the month, it is now calling for a little bit of a cool down. Now, when you're comparing it to some of these really hot temperatures that we've had, not much of a cool down, but it is going to be a little bit cooler here, it looks like, based on the latest forecast for some of those longer term forecasts.
Yeah, and that's, a good wave because we got that heat in there and it does help the corn grow and, helps strengthen it up before it goes into pollination. But now when we hit these cooler temperatures, hopefully to end the month, that'll take some of the stress off the corn because now as it goes into pollination and goes into grain fill eventually, it is going to take a lot out of the plant. And so you're not going to want too much stress on it. Now, obviously, you're going to want some heat to keep the plant strong. You're going to want moisture in there, which I think, at least for Iowa's sake, we got plenty of moisture in a lot of the state that now after that last weekend or so, that we should be all right for a while. But again, we don't know how dry it's going to get after this. And again, like I said, the heat will help a little bit, but we don't want to stress the crop too much. And this is almost ideal when you look at the situation. Now, of course, we said the heat dome is going to be off to the Dakotas area, maybe into western Minnesota, northern Nebraska. But of course, obviously, it's not like it's just follows the border, and it's still going to be warm around it for sure. But hopefully, again, not as intense as it was, but we're still talking temperatures in the low 90s, which is what we kind of saw a week or so ago. And the humidity levels what really got us. And so we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out and see if we get any a little bit more relief out of that, or if we're at least able to de-stress. But hopefully those cooler temperatures will work because that'll do a lot more good for the corn. And hopefully that's what the markets, I'm sure, are watching, though, too, as we get into this market cast here, as we hear from Eric Ralph of Comstock Investments, talk with Mark Magnuson about those corn and soybean markets.
Joined today by Eric Ralph of Comstock for our opening market discussion. Eric, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Another weaker session here today. We're actually seeing double-digit losses in the soybeans, while corn is down another 6.5 cents in the December contract as we come out of the morning break here today, trading at 450 December. That's going to be a hold point that really kind of needs to stay in place today, or we could see a little further downside erosion and maybe get back to a 62% retracement of this recent rally that we saw. So right now we're trading charts. We had a huge buy the rumor, sell the fact situation go on. Everybody was holding their breath for Chinese purchases and waiting for the confirmation of that. And of course, the day that we actually get that confirmation, the market slumps, even with soybean oil up sharply along with crude oil at the time. Soybeans still struggled a little bit. And then we're seeing follow through to the downside today. So kind of an uphill battle here. At the same time, you had the GFS midday model come out yesterday, looking to be a little cooler in the extended forecast. That is going to definitely keep pressure on things as well, because this heat that has set up shop over the Midwest and plains seems to be looking like it's going to shift off to the west. The EU model negates that a little bit, but still looking for cooler temperatures in that extended forecast. As unreliable as they may be, that's what the traders are going to trade.
And Eric, I know you're talking about the forecast and the extended forecast, so it could change, but what's kind of the timeline there that it is calling for that cool down a little bit as far as the extended forecast is concerned?
Yeah, really looking for it to shift around the 20th, but in the 8 to 14 day time frame is where they're looking at that cool down, or maybe even we should say the heat to shift off to the west. That the Dakotas are still going to be blazing hot. That's going to be a problem for them, especially in that region. And really looking around, like I said, the 20th to the 22nd is the time frame that's catching everyone's attention right now. We saw another round of daily flash sales today to China, 136,000 tons to China, and another 120,000 metric tons to unknown destinations. And here we are at double-digit losses. So again, between the weather and the buy the rumor, sell the fact, this thing's going to be a little difficult. And probably we went a little too far too fast, and just a reprieve setback, some kind of a retracement pullback would be warranted and probably healthy for the market overall.
And with that big jump up that we saw in that short amount of time, have farmers and producers been active in that time frame, taking advantage of that chance with the price rising?
Probably not as many as should have. I think everybody was kind of looking for the $5 mark, but really, I think there were sales made, no question about it. But everybody's still kind of looking to rally back to the $5 area because we didn't have any weather premium in this market leading up to this little bit of heat that we've seen over the last week and a half or so. But sales were made, just probably not to the extent that they needed to be made. And everybody would look in hindsight and go, man, I should have taken advantage of those $12 November beans. And they just, you get caught in the emotion of it. And that unfortunately is a commonplace within this industry. You break through $12, you trade to a high of $12.04 2 nights ago. You think, okay, well, that opens the door to the high of $12.14 that we posted back in May. And if we take that out, then where are we going? And all of a sudden now you're back at $11.70, $11.80 and wondering what's going on.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
Well, coming up now here on Iowa Ag Matters, we're going to hear about some programs that the USDA used to have control over when it came to foreign food aid, and then those got moved over to the State Department. Senate Ag Committee Chairman John Boozman of Arkansas has comments about getting that back to the USDA.
Senate Ag Committee Chair John Boozman says that USDA should operate foreign food aid programs, not the State Department. Senate Ag Committee Chair John Boozman says he hopes to make the switch of operational control for foreign food aid programs from the State Department to USDA if he can pass a new farm bill. Most U.S. foreign food aid was transferred to the State Department after President Trump largely dismantled USAID. Now Boozman wants Food for Peace and the McGovern-Dole program moved under the control of USDA.
That seems to be a much better fit in the sense, who knows better about agriculture and crops than the USDA as opposed to state.
Boozman is hopeful that the switch can be made by including the change in the Farm Bill, but he also needs other committees that oversee the State Department to cooperate.
We aren't the committee of jurisdiction. We're trying to get it moved into our committee. And always when you have committees that lose jurisdiction, sometimes that's a little bit of a problem.
Boozman explains that other committee leaders of both parties are also working on the issue, and he is optimistic.
The plan is for it to be in this legislation, if we can come to an agreement, but I feel like we're heading in that direction.
Boozman says Food for Peace and the McGovern-Dole programs were organized not just to help fight hunger abroad, but also to provide U.S. farmers additional markets and support prices. He argues the Farm Bill should be the vehicle for foreign aid food programs to switch operational control. For more on this story and all of our daily news stories, you can visit our website at iowaagnet.com. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter that delivers those 5 daily stories to your inbox each day.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Now, what we were talking about just before, obviously the USDA used to have control over these foreign food aid programs that helped with farmers getting some of the money they got for their commodities. It helped to increase demand. But Mark, State Department got that away, and now they're trying to get it back under USDA control.
That's right. It was part of, USAID was essentially the platform that it was distributed, that aid for foreign food aid. And then the State Department had actually taken that under control after the Trump administration essentially dismantled the USAID program, didn't think that it was dispersing that food aid properly in the administration's perspective. And so the State Department took over control. And then Senator Boozman, in his comments, as you just heard, made the argument, and you can see where he's coming from, that the fact that these programs were initially made, yes, of course, the goal was to help with foreign food aid and getting that aid to places where it was needed. But at the same time, it did help to create some additional markets for farmers and then also help to support those prices. So he's saying that it makes more sense to be involved as part of USDA and have USDA overseeing that situation. So that's what he's hoping for. But he is not going to have the final say on that. He still needs the other committees to get on board for that to happen.
Yeah, State Department's got to let go on that too, and so it's going to be something that's going to take some time to figure out, and hopefully it may even be something that they could take on jointly, maybe at the same time. More Iowa Ag Matters coming up in just a moment.
Get in the fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair and save before you go. The countdown is on to the Iowa State Fair, and now's the time to plan ahead. With advance admission tickets, lock in your visit before you arrive and step into 11 days of live music, fair traditions, incredible food, and summer moments you look forward to all year long. Save $5 now. Advance tickets are available now at iowastatefair.org, on the app, and at participating Iowa Hy-Vee and Fairway stores. Celebrate fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Time to run down those basis numbers for you here on this Thursday on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Dustin Huffman. About half of our elevators making switches in their prices today. Let's go ahead and run them down. At ADM Burlington, they're 2 cents over on corn at $4.32. Soybeans 15 cents under at $11.71. Cargill and Eddyville 17 cents under on corn. Cash bid $4.13. New Co-op Algona 33 cents under on corn $3.97. Soybeans 45 cents under. Cash bid $11.41. Ag State Sheldon, $4.13. That's 17 cents under the corn contract. They're 50 cents under the November soybean contract at $11.38. Ag State Alta, they're 29 cents under the contract for corn at $4.01 for the cash bid. Soybeans 45 cents under November, $11.43. Cargill Cedar Rapids 6 cents under on corn, $4.24. Soybeans a dime over August at $11.96. Five-Star Co-op Nashua 30 cents under on corn, $4 even. Soybeans 25 cents under at $11.61. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 17 cents under on corn, $4.13 for the cash bid. ADM Des Moines, even on soybeans, they're at $11.86 for their cash price. New Co-op Red Oak, 21 cents under on corn, $4.09. Soybeans, 45 cents under, $11.41. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 45 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.85. Soybeans, 50 cents under at $11.36. New Co-op Sheraton, 25 cents under on corn, $4.05. Soybeans, 45 cents under, they're at $11.41. At Walk-On Feed Ranch, 41 cents under on corn, $3.89. Soybeans 58 cents under at $11.28. New Co-op Glidden, 31 cents under on corn, cash bid $3.99. Soybeans 45 cents under, they're at $11.41. Innovative Ag Farley, they're 41 cents under on corn, $3.89. Soybeans 55 cents under, cash bid $11.31. And at Cargill Muscatine, they're 8 cents under on corn today at $4.24. Soybeans 15 cents under, they're at $11.71. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your basis numbers here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train,
A night of hit after hit after hit with special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart live.
Time now for Riley Smith's Update, a featured conversation with Landus Cooperative, taking a look at the disease pressure around the state, an update on the crops, what's happening in the fields that you need to be paying attention to. Here is Riley with more.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm here now with Dan Bjorklund, technical agronomist with the Landus Cooperative, for a featured conversation as we check in every other week. And Dan, it's been a very eventful past 2 weeks here in the state of Iowa. A lot of rain, a lot of flood damage, and then to top it all off, there was a lot of heat as well. As we look at the conditions, especially from last week, how has that impacted the crops? And in general, what are you seeing across the state of Iowa right now?
The northern part of the state got anywhere from 4 to 5 inches, and that would have been down to Fort Dodge where I live. And then I went over into central Iowa, just east of Ames, in that Nevada area, and then over south to Maxwell and Collins, and that was the 10-inch. I think 10 inches on one day, maybe 2 inches the next. And there was a lot of flooded soybean fields. The corn, you can't see it quite as easily, but you will be able to see it probably in the next 10 days because those areas will turn yellow where they've been in those saturated soils. It was really crazy because then you go over towards Carroll and get west of Carroll, Ida Grove in that area, and I think Guthrie Center, maybe they got 1/10 of an inch. So it's very typical, I think, of summer, where some areas get the rain and some areas don't. Wherever those thunderstorms develop is where it's at. Impact on the crop, obviously. Yeah, if you get that heaviest rain, it's just that's just not good. I was over in eastern Iowa at Tama County yesterday looking at fields, and they had around 4 or 5 inches. It was amazing, but that ground kind of has to roll to it, so it's not as flat as it is in the center part of the state. And actually, we were walking without boots, and I thought that was kind of amazing. But with the heat came in, and some of those areas were already drying up. We are seeing disease starting. We're seeing some northern corn leaf blight. We saw a tar spot earlier in June, but it doesn't seem to have really taken off. And tar spot is a disease that likes it more cooler and wet. And when you get warm and wet conditions, it's still there. It's still in the lower canopy. There's 5 or 6 counties in Iowa that have been identified that have a tar spot. So it's there. The next 2 weeks, I think, will be really critical to decide what kind of disease we get in corn and beans.
And as we look at that flood damage, I mean, how much damage did we see, and how severe did it get? We were talking before that there were fields that were plenty flooded. Seems like the corn handled it a little better. What have you seen on that front?
Yeah, with the soybean fields that were flooded, they're just mud caked, and I think there's not much you're going to be able to get out of there or do there. Corn seems to be able to tolerate it longer, but when you get 10 to 12 inches, it takes a long time for those fields to properly drain, and so I think definitely it's going to hurt. I've seen other times when we've had that kind of rain, and there's not much you can do for it. You're not going to get a whole lot out of it.
And then as we look at disease pressure as well, you mentioned tar spot. I think that's interesting because we had talked before about that heat, hopefully, preventing that from getting too much of a hold into the field so far. But have we seen those conditions that have been optimal for tar spot? I know it feels like it's kind of been too hot almost to see that.
Well, we had the 2 weeks in June that were really below normal. And tar spot is one of those diseases that when the spores hit that leaf that has a wet surface, you won't really see the actual lesion that forms for 14 to 20 days. And so, the inoculation that we had, especially coming from corn on cornfields, is where I saw tar spot in June. It's there. I think it's very, very low levels at this point. But it just takes a little bit of rain and moderating temperatures. And tar spot is one of those diseases over the last few years that August is kind of important. A lot of corn was planted later this year than it has been in the past 2 years. Although you see a lot of fields that are already tasseling and doing well, there's still a lot of other fields that maybe 4 or 5 leaves from tasseling. Those fields I'd be a little concerned about with tar spot, depending upon what August weather gives us, because sometimes, we have this really heat ridge in July, and then when it breaks, but even before the state fair, those cooler temperatures and cooler nights could bring it on. It's a weather thing. I've seen some gray leaf also, which is likes warm and wet conditions. So those are opposite. And the disease that we had last year that shall not be named, that blows up from the south, it likes it warm and wet. So if it shows up, and it's been identified in Texas, we had a lot of southern winds last week, through the 4th. Next 2 weeks will show us whether we find that or not. I think we found it last year on the 17th of July.
And then as we look at kind of other diseases as well, you mentioned northern corn leaf blight. Is that something that's taking hold a little bit? You mentioned, the disease we won't talk about from last year, but then tar spot as well. Are those the diseases that maybe we're looking at the most for this year? I know we've mentioned tar spot as kind of a key thing to be looking out for.
Yeah, because when it really takes off, it moves very quickly. And last year it was southern rust that we found that it moved very quickly, and it was very, very damaging. Northern corn leaf blight, the last time I saw it really hit hard was almost a dozen years ago, and it was one of those milder. I mean, July is always warm and hot, but it was just a little bit, cooler, and that one took off, and it was pretty significant. But really, the temperatures we're getting next week would really, I think it would really limit where the northern corn leaf blight goes.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined at midday by John Heinberg of Total Farm Marketing. John, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Yeah, we're seeing some selling pressure continue in the row crops here. Corn futures trading 2 to 3 lower. Beans 7, 8, 9 lower. Most weakness in the front end August end contract, which has been a really pretty good strength the last couple of days. Biggest thing that's probably weighing on the markets has been a little bit of a moderation in the forecast in terms of temperatures. I mean, it's still going to be above normal, but also just the continued talk of moisture kind of being in this picture. Just been hearing that from some of the weather people that, again, even though it's going to be probably a little below normal, but with the amount of moisture that's in the air, the humidity that's in the air, we're going to continue to see pop-up showers. And when disturbances come through, we're going to see some rainfall. As we're just looking at that, as we build into this, supposedly next little batch of heat ridge coming next week. The other side of it, too, export sales this morning on corn were very disappointing, below expectations for both old crop and new crop, which, considering we were at our contract lows and then the exporters disappeared, I think that was a little bit disappointing to the market as well in that regard. Soybeans, again, biggest thing we're seeing there, that Chinese business continues to come. Export sales on old crop were basically non-existent, which the market was kind of anticipating. And now we're just seeing a little bit of profit taking off that soybean market, but maybe building a different range here. We'll have to see how the next couple of days goes, especially with the USDA numbers tomorrow. Now, the big mover in the upside has been the wheat market. Just a bit of a technical bounce here. Maybe something's tied to the Russia-Ukraine situation that's kind of blown up the last couple of days as well. Wheat futures trading about 11 higher in Chicago, 10, 11, 12 higher in KC. Spring wheat about 9 to 10 cents higher. That's some of the lift. I think that's helped the corn market at least come off those session lows.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
Some selling pressure just kind of drifted back into the livestock market. Really nothing going on in the cash market at this point here, but again, we're still feeling some downside pressure. Nice recovery yesterday, so maybe we're just pulling back a little money off the table till we get cash trade put together in the live cattle market, as well as that strong feeder cattle market. So at least at this point of the day, things are weaker. Hogs, nice strength in the deferred contracts, at least holding on to some of those gains from yesterday's really strong up day. So we'll have to continue to see if we can get some push there. But that hog contract was pretty oversold. Got a big pop yesterday, especially in like this August, October. At least right now at this stage, August is giving back some of those gains.
That was John Heinberg with Total Farm Marketing. We will have a check of the numbers next.
This year at the Iowa State Fair, Fair Spirit meets 250 years of American history in a celebration across the fair. See the America 250 Iowa display and a permanent sculpture created just for the fair. Walk the Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway honoring service and sacrifice. Experience 250 years of the American flag, along with red, white, and blue contests and fair favorites. Then look to the sky for drone shows glowing in red, white, and blue, lighting up the fair like never before. From history to celebration, it all comes together at the Iowa State Fair. Learn more at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
September corn down 2 1/4 at 432 3/4. August soybeans down 8 1/2 at 1184 3/4. August soybean meal up 370 at 316. August soybean oil down 46 cents at 70.39. On the Merc, August live cattle down 83 cents at 236.80. August feeder cattle down $1.85 at 360.20. August lean hogs down 93 cents at 98.73. August pork cutout unchanged at 114.88. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Well, we are back here on Iowa Ag Matters, and it's time to go into those livestock markets and find out what's happened with the cattle and hogs. Eric Ralph of Comstock Investments rejoining the conversation, talking with Mark Magnuson here about what we're seeing here on the markets today.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
We are higher in the cattle, which is good to see. Yesterday's action was a little concerning, especially early in the day. Seemed to be a lot of stop running, especially under the feeder cattle market. We took out Monday's low. In doing so, ran a bunch of stops, posted new lows for this little move in the feeder cattle, but then bounced right back, finish over $1 higher on the day after trading $6 lower, posted an $11 range for the session in the August feeder cattle. Just remarkable volatility. And that has a lot of traders actually a little scared of the market, but that's the nature of the beast when you've got these kind of big special sales going on that we've seen this week. Bassett had their barbecue special yesterday, huge prices being paid, and that's probably as much as anything what rebounded things yesterday. We also have the week in the Rockies concluding today. That's a huge sale. 260,000 head will move through in a matter of 4 days. And also seeing big numbers paid there as well. Unfortunately, what seems to be anchoring the market right now is the Fed cattle cash market. It looks like we're going to be roughly $5 to $7 lower based on the little bit of trade that we have seen as of this moment. The confirmations from the AMS is showing us that, like I said, anywhere from 5 to 7 lower on live trade, dress trade anywhere from $7 to $10 lower. So it is going to be a bit of a struggle here if the Fed cattle cash can't come around. Hopefully that shifts before we get to the end of the week, but we're quickly running out of time there. In the case of the hogs, we actually saw some pretty remarkable trade yesterday. 5-week high in the October contract for lean hog futures, and seeing a little bit of follow through here this morning, although a much quieter day today. We did see that topside breakout yesterday that took out several weeks worth of highs. And we've been unable to mount any kind of summer rally so far, and still hearing a lot of industry chatter that there's going to be a extremely limited supply of hogs as we get towards maybe the third quarter, and just waiting to see if that actually comes to fruition or not. But traders are willing to step in there and put a little risk on the table. That could bode well for the lean hog futures moving forward here.
He is Eric Ralph of Comstock. Eric, what's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
You can check us out on all the social media outlets. Go to the Comstock channel on YouTube. You can go to our website at comstock.com, or just give us a call at 712-227-1110.
Eric, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thanks, you too, Mark.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
We're back on Iowa Ag Matters, 35 days, I believe, now from the Iowa State Fair, Mark. And of course, we did talk about this a little bit, but we kind of rushed through it. I shouldn't say hushed through it. We rushed through it. And we talking about those new fair foods that are coming. And I know one of the things that we talked about was a chicken nugget with a little sour cream and some caviar on it. $99 for that. But hey, if that's what you want to go for, go for it. I'm sure it's quite decadent. But we're also going to bring in our expert on the State Fair, Mr. Riley Smith, Mark, because if we're talking about State Fair, you got to bring in Riley to talk about some of these foods. And Mark, I know we talked about a few of them. What kind of things are standing out to you?
Yeah, I was enjoying the America 250 theme that was incorporated in a lot of the new fair foods. And like you mentioned, we have to bring Riley on it's basically the Ask the Expert segment, because Riley, as he would tell you, he's basically born at the State Fair, born and raised at the State Fair. Now, to be fair, he has been there, I believe, every year of his life, except for the COVID year when there was no State Fair. So Riley is our expert for sure. And Riley, when we talk about the foods that were on the list, we ran through them quickly the other day, but you've had a little bit more time to think about it. What do you think is going to be the popular option, or maybe your early front runner for something that's going to be very much featured at the Iowa State Fair?
Well, Dustin, I need to correct you first. It's creme fraiche, not sour cream, on the caviar and chicken nuggets. But when I look at the things that I think might take off, so past couple of years we've seen Win and Sarah's Kitchen do really well at the fairgrounds with the new foods. They've got the All-American Scrambled Egg Roll. So it's got bacon, sausage, hash brown, scrambled eggs, and cheddar cheese in an egg roll. That's probably going to do numbers. It always does every year. That little trailer that they have near the Jacobson building, between there and the beer tent, always has a line that goes like all the way down the street, as they have all those different egg rolls there. And people have really been enjoying that. I tell you what, something interesting, and I'm curious what this will be like, is the 1776 Parmesan ice cream. When I first heard that, I was like, is this kind of like a hot beef sundae situation, where it's named after ice cream, but it's not ice cream? No, it is. It's Parmesan mixed in with, they say, smooth, creamy ice cream layered with tart cherry and buttery pound cake, and then Parmesan on top of that. Now, what I find funny about that is that we're using, Italian cheese in an American celebration dish. I've kind of noticed that with a few of the different, 1776. We have 1776 Dubai strawberries. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily super American, if you ask me.
But you also remember, America's a melting pot of many different nationalities, many different diverse groups. So, there is a little bit to that. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. But yeah, I'm not sure. Parmesan cheese. Oh, see, I love some good Italian food, but Parmesan cheese is the one thing I don't know if I can agree with. But hey, with ice cream, it might work with the tart cherry. The flavor combination could definitely balance itself out there.
I think the funniest ones are the ones that are like 10 different foods all in one name. So you got like candied pork belly, mac and cheese pizza slice. So how many different foods could we combine into one name? I don't know, Mark, if you've noticed that before, where it's like the more foods you cram into one, seems like the more fair like it is.
That is definitely the case. You have to remember, at the end of the day, it is a state fair. You want to have something that makes you stand out from the rest. So you kind of have to go a little bit over the top on a lot of things, which you definitely see in this list of some of the new fair foods. And could you remind me, Riley, how does the competition aspect work for the best fair foods? Is it throughout the entire week and then they decide at the end of the week?
I believe so. I can't quite remember exactly how they do it, but I know they basically, like, on the app, you go to the place, you can scan their code, vote for them on there, and I think you just get one vote, I'm pretty sure, per person, but I'm not exactly sure on that, but I do know that it's towards the end of the fair that they pick it out, because obviously, they want the winner to have like a few days to enjoy being the winner and maybe get a little extra business out of it.
Yeah, looking forward to that. But of course, one thing, we all try to get some of the new stuff in there. But I got to ask before we get going here, Riley, if you're going to go with a new thing or a go-to classic, what is it you're looking forward to on day one of the fair?
Oh, man. I mean, day one of the fair, usually there's a turkey leg involved. I mean, every single year, or, I think still underrated is the free hard-boiled egg on a stick from the John Deere Ag Building. I mean, I start off every single fair with at least one of those.
Yes, that we do. Mark, what about you?
Pork chop on a stick, easy answer.
I was going to say, and I'm going to go for the hot beef Sunday. We all know that. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to the new ones, but sometimes those time-tested ones are great too. More Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
This year at the Iowa State Fair, Fair Spirit meets 250 years of American history in a celebration across the fair. See the America 250 Iowa display and a permanent sculpture created just for the fair. Walk the Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway honoring service and sacrifice. Experience 250 years of the American flag, along with red, white, and blue contests and fair favorites. Then look to the sky for drone shows glowing in red, white, and blue, lighting up the fair like never before. From history to celebration, it all comes together at the Iowa State Fair. Learn more at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Join us again tomorrow as we will wrap up the week. Thank you to Riley. Thank you to Dustin. I'm Mark Magnuson. Talk to you again tomorrow.